I recently had someone ask me if I had a DIY video on how to make this garden gate. And of course I said, well, not yet, but I'd be happy to make one. So you guessed it, that's what we're gonna do today. I built this gate a little over 2 years ago, so I won't be able to show you the build process, but I can certainly show you what I did to put it together and why I did it that way so that you can build one for yourself if you'd like. I don't remember how much this cost exactly, but I looked up some current prices on the materials and it was about $65 to $70. And I know that sounds a little pricey, but it's because we used all cedar wood for this, and that's a little bit more expensive for us here in the Midwestern United States. You may be able to get it cheaper where you live, or you may have some other options. The posts are 4 foot long 4x4 timbers, and the rest of these are 1x4s. And I made this gate 3 feet on each side. You can make yours whatever size you want, but I made it this width so that we could easily get a wheelbarrow through here to deliver some mulch or to haul out our bountiful harvests. Well, maybe bountiful isn't the right word, but it's good to be prepared, right? So let's start with the posts first. I used a concrete mix for these, but if you'd like to check out some alternatives to concrete, I provided a link in the description. But I dug down over 1 foot deep and about 10 inches wide to give enough space around them and below where the post was going to go. And I just followed the instructions on the concrete bag for setting fence posts. And then I added some scrap lumber, attached the posts to each other across the top, and then added some diagonal braces and made sure they were all level and plumb, and then let the concrete set. All right, and now for the gate. So for the corners on these, I just used a simple miter joint, which is just cutting the boards at 45-degree angles, screwing them together. So that works pretty well, but there are stronger connections to use, such as a half-lap joint. And that's where you line up the boards and mark the width on both of them, and then mark the halfway point and notch this whole piece out. You cut all that out of there and do the same on the other one. And then those will fit together nicely and you can insert screws this way. So that is a much stronger joint to use, but it takes a little more time and effort and requires more tools like a circular saw, a table saw, a wood chisel to get that all notched out nicely so they fit together really well. This is a bit easier to do and takes less time, and you really only need a speed square and a pencil to mark the 45-degree angle, and you can do it with a hand saw and a drill. A miter saw can help you get a much more even angled cut, but it's not necessary to use that. So it's always a good idea to drill pilot holes for the screws first before putting those in so the wood doesn't split, and especially when you're working with boards that are this narrow. And make sure to use screws that are meant to be outside, like galvanized screws or deck screws, so that way they won't rust. I'm positive that I did that with all of these, but these ones here are starting to look a little rusty, so I may have to replace those. So once I had the outer square frame all screwed together, I marked another board to cut off the corners and attach that for diagonal support there. And then used a heavy-duty staple gun to go around and attach a section of fence on the front. Hanging the gate can be a little tricky, but there's a pro tip that I learned recently that I wish I had known when I put this together. So as long as the gate is going to be flush with the top of the posts, you can lay a board onto the posts and then use clamps to attach the gate to that board, and then it will be hanging right where you need it to install the hardware, the hinges, and the latch. So once you get all of that installed, you can check to make sure everything swings open and closed nicely, and the latch works properly. And that's all there is to it. It's a simple design, works very well, and it's lasted 2.5 years already. It should last many more. So if you have any other questions about this or anything else, please feel free to ask. And thank you very much for watching. Take care. I'll see you next time.